Here we go then, first fight of the night of a dozen, and it's an opportunity knocking for Kate McLaren. First fight since December when she lost for the first time out in Australia, but now she's back home, close to family. Plenty of them are here tonight to watch her fight, including her mum Wendy, watching her live for the very first time. I suspect a few butterflies in her tummy right now as we get things underway. McLaren, Andy, wants to be part of this wave that is surging through British and Irish boxing at the moment, particularly for the women.
100%, and she sells a few tickets. You could see that on the ring walk, and that was not the ring walk of somebody who was racked by self-doubt, is it? That was not the kind of arrival to the ring that you see every day, and you need to be able to back it up. It was quite something, that choreographed routine, but now she just needs to switch on and make sure she does a good job here. Libiszewska is very tough, as we know, but she did get stopped by Harley Whitwell in the second not that long ago. Good fighter, though, Harley Whitwell. If McLaren can get it done as well, then that would be something.
Yeah, Harley Whitwell has been on some of these top-tier shows. Barry and I have seen her a couple of times. She's a good, talented, young, up-and-coming fighter. As ever, there are barometers for these fighters, fellow fighters, their records, their achievements, the way they got the job done. There's always a marker to be put in the canvas, Barry. But the most important thing is to be back in the ring and to get back to winning ways.
And most importantly, just to be controlled in everything you do. And I think McLaren started off nice. No, she's set like not a fast pace, but she's controlling the pace behind the jab. It's not always landing, but she's throwing it out there to maintain that distance that she needs to throw that solid right hand that she has. So it's a good, nice little composed start here.
I watched that fight that she lost back in December with Enya Ryan. Split decision it was. It was a really close, competitive fight. Could have gone either way. She'd search for the rematch to try and avenge that loss, but it wasn't forthcoming, and she's kind of plotted her way back home and now has this opportunity on a top-tier show as she gets that first round of her new career in the books. And there you can see Will Jones, part of that. They've just moved, actually, the Elite Gym just moved, all spick and span. So Andy, she's kind of part of something there, and they've all got a spring in their step because of it.
She definitely is. I was chatting to Will just before the show started about an hour or so ago, and it's a busy gym they've got there. It's a really good dynamic, a really good atmosphere they've got there too. He's really, really happy with it, and that kind of concoction, it can be quite fragile, can't it, at times? You just only need really one person who is a little bit too demanding and a little bit too selfish, possibly, who can upset everything. But they're really happy with the way things are building there. And I think with the move, one thing that'll benefit her hugely is just being in the UK and benefiting from being around a lot of good fighters, because the depth isn't the same in Australia.
And as we go into the second round, the opportunities for sparring are going to be so much more plentiful in this particular part of the world. Sense of urgency from McLaren at the start of this second round. Maybe a little bit of the riot act from Will Jones to pick up the intensity as we go into the second of a scheduled 6.
Well, you only have 2-minute rounds, so isn't that in women's boxing, unfortunately? So they don't really have time to build into anything. You've got to start fast. You've got to make sure you've certainly won the first portion of the round, put pressure on your opponent. But even there with McLaren, she came out a little bit, not wild, but not really accuracy with the shots. But at least she kept it nice and long when she went forward. She didn't shorten the punches, allowing some of them to come back. So as long as you move behind the long shots, you're always theoretically in a safe position.
And one thing that was obvious from that Ryan fight was she really does want to commit to the right hand, McLaren. Maybe could use her advantages, height and reach, long levers, maybe work the jab a bit more, but she really wants to commit to that right hand. But it's a new setup, it's a new start. It'll be interesting to see the kind of things they've been able to work on. She arrived, Andy, in mid-June, and the link up with Will Jones came pretty much within days of that. So they've had a couple of months, 2.5 months or so, to sort of build relationships and start to formulate plans.
It's interesting watching her. Her weight is quite heavily on her front foot a lot of the time. She leans in a bit, which doesn't necessarily mean that your weight's all going to be on that front foot. Fighters can be very clever like that, but I think with her it generally is. Be interesting to see what might happen if Libiszewska is a little bit more ambitious and tries to back her up a bit.
She had done a little bit of Muay Thai previously, but no real boxing experience until around about 2020. And get this, Barry, who helped train her for what was initially a white collar fight, and then persuaded her to turn pro. The one and only Jeff Fennick. How about that, for starters?
How can you not be a good fighter with that Hall of Famer there in your corner?
Training out of Jeff's gym in his back garden and getting all of that experience with well, he was a 3-weight world champion. Should have been a 4-weight world champion the night he met Azuma Nelson for the first time. I watched that fight back actually a couple of months ago, and he was terrific that night, Fennick. And actually, I think the WBC just belatedly have turned around that result, Andy, haven't they?
It was a huge controversy at the time, wasn't it? It was a real, yeah, it was, and you can understand why. You can absolutely understand why. I mean, he's probably still the biggest legend of Australian boxing, Fennick. You know,
Absolutely.
you would probably say that.
Absolutely, and supersonic.
Yeah.
Supersonic.
Him or Lionel Rose, maybe.
Yeah,
one or two.
Absolutely. As we move into the third round.
See, when if you've got a solid right hand, which she has, McLaren, and you're struggling for distance, I say it all the time, that double jab, because you just take a shorter stab with the front foot. That just puts you a little bit closer with the second jab. That means you can punch through the target with your right hand. And that helps you then with the judgment of the distance when you want to throw it on its own as a surprise shot. You know where to put your foot. That muscle memory kicks in. You do that repetitively, and that becomes a really potent weapon for you then.
Push her off, push her. Push her off.
Libiszewska using all of her experience at this stage, as we said beforehand. She is tough, experienced, used to go in the rounds. That was a nice body shot. Little right hand snuck in there by McLaren in the clinch, in the exchange.
Just telegraphing that right hand a little bit there, McLaren. Just trying to get so much power into it, just lifting the elbow up, just taking it offline, out the shape a little bit. You've got to try and turn from the hips and the shoulders with your shots. You're punching right on the target. Keeps you nice and direct, nice and strong.
She snuck in another little right hand to the body again, McLaren. So he's having her successes up close, even although you'd think from a sort of size and length in her that she should have most of her success at distance.
That's a good jab, good solid left hand. Just switches off now and again, doesn't she?
Yeah. Just clip a right hand. That was one of the things obvious in that round defeat as well. Yeah, just a bit open to the right hand now and then, but plenty to work on for Will Jones and the team. And as I said beforehand, it's the quality of sparring that's going to be available now in this particular part of the world. That's going to be a huge asset to her going forward, given the fact she turns 34 at the end of the month, and she's aware of time and she wants to use and capitalise on all of that as much as she can.
Exactly, she doesn't exactly have too much time to waste, but in the women's side of pro boxing, if you're prepared to take a few chances and take some hard fights, a couple of wins and you can be right up there. So that's the kind of route that you'd imagine she'll be looking to take sooner rather than later. Just box as much as she can in the early stages, but just that experience in and around the gyms that'll be so different to what she'd been able to get in Australia, I think should bring her on a lot.
Into the fourth round then, Kate McLaren. Not the kind of person I think is going to die wondering. She went across to New York for a 2-week boxing camp that was arduous and torturous in spells as well. I know she got to meet Amanda Serrano while she was over there as well. What an inspiration she is for us fight fans, Barry, never mind for you as a female boxer.
Well, I'm not a female boxer, but thanks for saying that. I never have been. Of course, yeah, she's an absolute legend of the sport, isn't she? You know, regardless of the gender, she's absolutely fantastic. And still one of the greatest fights I've been at, her and Katie Taylor. again, see, just rolling that right hand, though, rather than just pushing from the shoulder and the hips, just arcs. She's just arcing the right hand. It just makes it a little bit slower, a little bit more easier to read.
Landed with a left hook there. Just so eager to get her punches off, to get into the action.
It's like a second debut this for her, basically, isn't it? And professional debuts can be tricky because you want to impress, and that's definitely the situation she's in here, probably more so than for her actual pro debut. And Barry's right, that right hand, Libiszewska can see it coming from far away at the minute.
Yeah, as I said, her mum Wendy watching her live for the first time. Her dad Andy did travel across to Australia to see her once, but only the second time he's seen her from ringside. Her uncle and aunt are here, lots of friends and family from the village, hence you heard the cheers as she made her ring walk. And just asserting towards the end of this one, she managed to land another jab and right hand. Sure, there's been a lot of nervous energy over the last few hours, last few days. She's done a lot of interviews. She's always happy to push her profile.
And she's not boxing that bad, so she's doing some really good stuff. I would say, I just think she's a little bit too heavy on the front foot. And you just see it when she throws the jab, it's a good shot because she puts a lot of weight on that front foot, means she can't really, get more momentum behind it, like double jab or anything like that, because she's planting it, makes it a single shot. So she's been lighter on that front foot, been on the balls of the feet with that front foot, allows her to just get those combinations together, and that's all she's probably lacking here. In a fight that she's winning clearly, by the way, I feel.
Here we go then into round 5. And Libiszewska's tough, reliable. She's only been stopped 3 times in the last 26 fights over the last 4 years, and usually that's against really good operators. I mentioned, Jonas and Chantel Cameron have stopped her in the past back in 2017. So she is tough and reliable. She was always going to be guaranteed to give McLaren some rounds tonight. And given the 9 or so months out of the ring, is exactly what McLaren needs after that break.
It definitely is. That time is invaluable, really. And if she'd gone in there tonight against somebody who didn't really know what she was about and they'd just blown her away, then you get a nice surge of confidence from that, but it doesn't really do all that much for you. So if she can get these 6 rounds under her belt and get back in the gym straight away and get out again as quickly as possible and step things up the next time, I think that's what the plan would be for her going forward.
Plenty of encouragement coming from the sidelines as well for McLaren tonight. You can see Libiszewska just kind of changing the angles, just making McLaren think for every little bit of real estate up there inside the ring.
And as soon as McLaren goes to throw that left jab, she quite often just takes a little step back just to keep it out of the range of if that right hand's going to come that way. I think the right hand's a good weapon there for McLaren. Just can't get it right on target clean enough.
That's what I want to see more of, that jab. Such an advantage in arm length, and that reach advantage. She just tripled up with the jab there, looking for the left hook. We come towards the end of this penultimate round.
Push her up. Push her with your shoulder.
So last chance tonight anyway for Will Jones to impart some advice with the final round upon us. She has done 8 rounds before. She's been the 6-round distance as well. That was last year. So she is fit, focused, used to doing the rounds, but after the break and a new setup entirely. Lots of things to take into consideration tonight for McLaren. And worth remembering, there's lots of inspiration, Barry, just in this weight, isn't there, of a welterweight. She weighed in tonight under welter. I think she was 145 tonight. But you've got, Mayer against Sandy Ryan coming up for a world title. You've got Lauren Price, of course, fellow Welsh person. The bags of talent there as well. Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper, done a whole range of weights over the last couple of years as well. So loads of talent.
Yeah, anyone from lightweight to middleweight in women's boxing can, they're all fighting each other, aren't they? Which is crazy in itself. But yeah, it seems to be a good popular weight at the minute for women's boxing, and certainly in the UK. So that gives a bit of incentive to put on a show and try and develop as quick as she can to maybe catch some of these fighters before they move on. And also with the age, with women's boxing, it seems to be different, doesn't it? I mean, age in general now for boxing, their peaks are later than they've ever used to be. But in women's boxing particularly, I think 34 and you're practically a baby.
There's the jab right hand for McLaren. Slowly but surely getting her timing, getting her distance, and those are of course key factors in boxing.
I just like to see a basic technique, a 1-2 left hook. So just when you land with that jab, you turn, just proper turn, rotate into the shot, and I'll give you the momentum and natural movement to want to throw that left hook into place.
Well, we saw it last weekend or the weekend before, didn't we, with Diego Pacheco?
Yeah.
Touched with a jab, missed with the right hand. Follow up was the third punch in the combo, left hook to the body, and what a result he got against Soletsky. Just caught on the way in there. McLaren then managed to land her own right hand. That's been her punch tonight. A couple of those little body shots in the early rounds.
Just got caught standing up a bit tall, didn't she, as she was coming in. And it's been a pretty good performance, though, hasn't it? I think overall, because the pressure is on. As you said, lots of nervous energy. She has been a little bit right hand happy, but it's understandable.
There was a nice little left hook counter in the exchange, Barry, to finish off.
Yeah, it was. I think it wasn't a bad performance. I thought it was pretty good. I think she came out after that ring walk. I thought she was maybe going to be a bit too excited and come out with all guns blazing, but she was nice and composed. Took her time, worked her way into the round. I think Will Jones maybe said, "Listen, you had a good look, but let's be a little bit busier." And she was busier. Then got caught every now and again. I think it's to work on her feet. I think the punches she throws are fine. She lifts her elbow up for the right hand maybe, but I think that's to do with your feet. You put your feet in the right position, it forces you to turn into the shots. And I always say about punching inside your body frame, you're keeping your elbows down and punching through your shoulder, which helps be more dynamic with that shot. But it's her feet a little bit. I think she gets those right on the balls of her foot with her front foot, a little bit closer in with her back foot, even though the weight's always on your back foot. That gives you a little bit more acceleration and pace in every punch you throw, which means you could double up with the jab and punch through with the right hand then because you're closer to the target. But all in all, I thought it was a decent performance.
Well, as Andy said, it was essentially a second debut tonight. It was a homecoming, there was an absence, it's a new team, you're in front of your friends and family as well. There was a lot going on, and she's been through a lot in her personal life over the last few years as well. So all things considered, I should be absolutely delighted just to be back in a boxing ring, and we think winning, but we'll get confirmation of that with MC Huss.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of boxing, we go to the referee scorecard. The ringside referee scores the bout 60-54, and your winner, Kate McLaren!